So I see this a lot in personal brands, particularly in the spiritual space, and the embodiment coaches. Is what they'll do is they go through evolutions personally, which is beautiful, and we should evolve as a human, but then all of a sudden they're rebranding every 3 months because they're evolving. And what that does is it creates deep mistrust in the market. They've got to continually build up trust all of the time, unless they can context it, and some people can. But if you look at people that really have strong brands in that space, like Reagan Hillier, she's pretty much stayed consistent in her branding from start to end. So she's gone through her own personal transformations, but it's almost like she's built an avatar or a separate identity that she kind of puts the hat on when she's in her public persona, and then she gets to take it off when she's at home by herself. And that's what really successful 7-figure brands do. Brands that leave legacies and brands that will own market shares in their individual market in 3 to 5 years to come, if they don't already.
Hello, my loves, and welcome back to Create Your Life. I am your host, Simone Leah. So I just wanted to let you guys know that today's interview is actually an interview that I recorded about a year ago when I ran an online event called the Soul-Led Entrepreneurs Summit. It was a really, really, really wonderful event. I had some beautiful, amazing speakers talking about things like connecting with your intuition and how you can use that in your business, how to do Facebook advertising, how to do marketing as a soul-led entrepreneur, all of these cool things to do with business, entrepreneurship, and actually also spirituality and connecting within. And so these interviews were so wonderful that I really wanted to be able to share them with you now. So if when you're watching this, you see or hear the word soul-led entrepreneurs, this is still the Create Your Life show, but these interviews were just too good for me to keep to myself any longer. So I really, really, really hope you guys enjoy this interview, and I can't wait to connect with you again soon. Hey guys, and welcome back to Soul-Led Entrepreneurs. My name is Simone Leah, and I will be your host today and every day. So sometimes you do an interview that just stands out. You know, a lot of my interviews are amazing. I feel so incredibly blessed by the people that I'm talking to and connecting with. But sometimes there's just an energy exchange between me and the person I'm interviewing. That means that we just go to some really amazing places in the conversation, and the other person just has so much value and wisdom to share, and it just comes out, like it just happens. And this was one of those interviews. So I interviewed Kate Gray from the Boss Business Institute, and let me tell you, this woman knows her stuff. So Kate is someone who's spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on learning about business, personal development. She's had one-on-one mentor sessions. She's done coaching. She's gone to retreats. She's learned so much in these spaces because she's someone who very much believes in the once someone else has done something, you can do it to philosophy. So she spent the time to go and learn the things that other people are doing that's worked, and now she does them, and she's built this amazing brand doing these amazing things. So Kate's an amazing person to really listen to and get around, because she's helping people build businesses and lives that they actually really love, and she just provides so much support and value doing it. Hey guys, and welcome back to Soul-Led Entrepreneurs. My name is Simone, and today I'm here with the beautiful Kate Gray from Boss Business. How are you doing, Kate?
I am amazing, Simone. Yourself?
Good, thank you. And it is so nice to have you here, and I'm so excited. Today we're going to be talking about 7-figure business branding and marketing, and I'm literally so excited to jump into this topic. But I do want to start with the question of, what does being aligned in business mean to you?
Oh, I love that. Being aligned in business means to me having a business that embodies my highest values and leaves the world a better place. So, first is I serve myself by aligning with my values, and then I'm able to contribute to help others do the same. That's what it means to me.
That is amazing. I literally love that, because it is just getting clear on your own values of who you are And then, yeah, sharing that, like contributing that. I love that you use the words contributing that, you know what I mean? Because that's what it's about. It is about understanding who you are and sharing. So I have not had someone answer it like that. And I just love that answer. So thank you.
You're welcome. Excited.
It's so cool. It's so cool. I'm dying to jump into this. So, because obviously there's a lot of people who are maybe they've been in their business for a while and they're still in that, like, you know, less than 100K bracket, or then they've started to kick over into that 6-figure bracket. What's the difference between someone who's earning like 5 or 6 figures as opposed to 7 figures? What are the 7-figure business owners doing differently?
That is a really great question. And I want to just add the distinction at the beginning that there is a difference between some 7-figure earners and other 7-figure earners. So the ones who are successfully doing it and not killing themselves and have no life, because there are many who are doing that are in hustle mode, earning 7 figures, but they have no life. They're miserable. They're about to hit adrenal fatigue. I was one of those. And then I transcended into, let's call them Group B. Group B, what they're doing differently is systems, automation, and processes that are repeatable, and teams. Like that's literally it. They have a strong foundation, which I teach, and what I believe most people, even big companies beyond, 7 figures, like 20, $30 million companies, their foundation is clear, their brand is clear, that they use archetypes. And from that, they build systems and automation. And then they bring in teams to keep the engine running for them. So they eventually just become a leader of it, or the driver of the car, but the foundation and the team is the car, and then they move as one.
I literally love that, because I think as a business owner and an entrepreneur, you're not necessarily going in it to give yourself a job, but that is the trap that so many people do fall into.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, so if you have got that business established as you did yourself, is it easy to flip it over into something that takes you back out of it?
Totally. And what I do and what I work with clients with, and what I did when I hit adrenal fatigue at the beginning of 2020, everything fell apart, which was wonderful. But what I did was I then built an exit strategy for myself. So I built a plan, a 5-year plan, that my goal was hopefully to get it in 2 years. And I'm actually probably got it in 18 months. To exit myself. So I'm no longer really needed in my business. My business can run without me. I think the biggest challenge that people will face when kind of transcending out of that, like, chaos, let's call it chaos, because it does feel like chaos, is more their mindset, like giving up control, trusting other people. A lot of entrepreneurs are what we call in wealth dynamics creators, and I am one. We're generally terrible leaders because we're not very good communicators. We are in this state of mania all the time, which is how we got to 7 figures. But in order for us to get to 8 figures, we then have to learn how to communicate, how to lead, and how to bring all out that divine chaos into systems and structure. So they were, for me, the biggest challenges. And with most people I help make that transition, they were the biggest challenges and are still.
So for a lot of people, the thought of just bringing in systems and structures is going to be freaking them out right now, because as you said, we're all creators. We don't want to do, we don't, you know. So even that, like, that's obviously, as you said, it's taking you about 18 months to get to that next level that you want to go to. But the actual process of bringing in and changing and making these systems, was that a hard or scary process? And did that take a long time?
Actually, it didn't take as long as I thought it would take. The hardest part for me was to trust other people in doing what I wanted them to do. But actually what it was it was me trusting myself in being able to communicate what I wanted them to do. That was like the deep-seated underlying issue. The systems themselves, they're not that difficult. And the reason why is because we hired someone to help us. So if you're in this chaotic state, what you actually want to do is you want to hire someone who's done what you've done. It's working, it's functioning, and then get them to help you model their systems, and you just implement them. Systems are systems. Like, you literally just have to take them and adapt them. You don't need to reinvent the wheel if you're introducing systems. It's actually much easier than most people think.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love that. And I think it's very much, even when you think about like not necessarily the online world, but you think about things like McDonald's. They have so many stores, but it's not the owner at the top running around to all of them, you know? So I think
Mhm.
that a lot of people,
Exactly.
yeah. And everyone just thinks this is going to be so scary and this is my baby. I'm so attached to it. But I feel like, and I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you have those systems in place, it actually gives you more freedom.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, somebody posted something the other day about how true wealth, is when we have time freedom as well. And it resonated because back at the beginning of 2020, I had so much money and so much authority and popularity. It was great. I had a huge platform, but I had no time. That's why my health was so bad. That's why adrenal fatigue caught up with me. I was using alcohol as a trauma blocker, like all of these things because I just couldn't function anymore. But when we actually set the systems up, then I love this saying, it's that discipline equals freedom. Systems equal freedom. Like, to me, systems are discipline. That's why I didn't like them. I was like, I don't want to fit into a box. But what I've learned is by systemizing and building systems that are repeatable and can be automated either through technology or teams, I then have allowed myself a life that I can live and enjoy rather than always working and hustling.
I love that. And I'd love to actually go even a little bit deeper into this. And I'm not entirely sure how comfortable you're going to be with this conversation. But so, in your business, in your day to day life, say, I don't know how much time you spend in your business, let's say 30 hours a week.
Mhm.
A lot of people think when they start to grow a team, that 30 hours a week is going to be sucked up by managing the team, and they're not actually going to be able to run their actual business. So, looking at it on a deeper level, is there like, do you end up getting overrun by actually trying to support the team, or is it kind of one of those things where you can make 10 like 30% of the time, or 1/3 of the time is looking after the team, 1/3 of the time is creating the stuff that you need to do as the business owner to keep the moving forward, and 1/3 of the time is you thinking ahead and starting to do the planning? Like, how does having the systems and running your team actually affect your time?
It definitely allows me more time because I used to be the strategist and the implementer. Now I'm just the strategist and I get to choose what I implement. Like, I will implement things that I enjoy now that bring me happiness and like make me feel good on the inside, things that fill my heart and make me feel soul aligned. And then everything else gets pushed out to the team. And the beautiful thing is that why it doesn't suck up too much time. And the secret is just to find out all their zones of genius and make sure that they're positioned in their zones of genius. Because if you can do that, the team will work cohesively together and you'll be able to actually not suck up a lot of your time managing your teams at all, because everyone's doing what they love. And we all know when we do what we love, like it brings this different kind of energy to what we do. So our team works extremely well. I spend an hour a day to be on meetings, Monday to Friday, with my lead generation team and my DM strategists. And I love that because I have ideas and then they go and implement them, or they're chatting to people and they're like, oh, what do I do now? I'm like, oh, we do this, get them to book a call, or like, this stuff I would do for free. I love it because it's all about ethical influence and how psychology works and how we get people to buy in the buying process, but they go and implement it. I just give them the ideas. And then we have a team meeting with our entire team, which is 8 people, twice a week for an hour. So that's it.
That's amazing. So that's literally 7 hours a week to literally like basically manage 98 probably percent of the stuff that's going on in your business. And I just feel like that is amazing, because I feel like there's a lot of people that when they do start to build teams, and even with the online world, they'll just make it so that they're available whenever their team wants them. And then suddenly an hour's gone replying to this person and that person and this person. And you're doing all of that, earning obviously like, an amazing income doing what you love in under 7 hours. Like, that's amazing right there. So if someone was starting from, say, like they don't have that massive business yet, is there things they can do to start that process and implement having those systems early on?
Yeah, so document everything that you do. So like every process that you do. So for example, if you're a solopreneur and you're doing DM strategies, save those like scripts, build a Google file, call it DM scripts, put some lucid charts together to kind of show the flow of how you do them, film a Loom video, put it in that Google Drive. And then when you hire somebody, everything's there, and you can do that with every area of your business. And then it actually takes way less time to manage your team because they just have to learn the infrastructures that you've already put there. I find most people struggle with hiring when they don't have the infrastructures. They don't have systems for their team to refer to. Their teams feel lost. They get frustrated. Then they go, oh, I'm better off just doing it myself. Then it just ends up being a disaster.
You know what? I actually love that because it even brings up, like, if someone's got a question or an issue, you can literally just record a Loom video as the answer and plug that into your training for your staff. So every time that someone has a question in your team, you've just made another piece of, this is how you do this. So
yeah, that's right. We have a Trello board. Everything goes on Trello. Our whole team is in Trello, and we just communicate through Trello or Signal. So we have like group chats on Signal for different like departments, and then everything's on Trello. Everything's systemized. Our 3-month plans on there. Everybody knows the parts that they're working towards. It's kind of cool. I actually love it, and I used to not like it at all. Teams was the thing that stopped me from moving past that 7-figure into a place of like harmony and abundance, whereas before I was abundance and chaos.
Yeah, I love that because I feel like Teams is the thing that slows people down. And yeah, I even feel like just going from 6 figures to 7 figures, there's such a big difference in the amount of team you actually have as well. Like I do feel like it's very hard to get to those higher figures if you don't have support. So I do feel like that is something that holds people back, and having systems in place to make that easier would literally be something that really makes the difference. Do you think that there's also a difference in
absolutely.
Yeah, like in the way that people brand and market themselves in those arenas, or is the difference mainly in the way that the systems and everything are set up?
So I've seen multiple different things. And so, for example, you have people like, and I'm going to use this extreme example. Let's look at branding, right? We've got Frank Kern, and I love Frank, and I've worked with Frank, and I consider Frank a mentor, whose branding is terrible. If you go to his Instagram page, it literally looks like your granddad or your uncle has just gone hell for leather with his mates posting stuff. And I'm just like, oh my God. But he's been in the marketing, direct copywriting kind of industry since the 90s. So he has this kind of, I guess he has energetic weight. He's already the go-to before the market got flooded. Okay. So you've got the Franks and everyone, because when I say branding's really important, and that's what will separate you and decide whether one person buys from you and not somebody else if you're selling the same service. And people will always be like, oh, well, what about Frank? Or what about this person? I'm like, they're the exceptions. There are exceptions. Okay. But they've been in it for a long time. They have authority. Nobody's going to push Frank Kern off his like perch, I think, in my lifetime. He's a genius. But then you have new up and coming kind of 7-figure entrepreneurs that have got the flashy lifestyle, like millionaire mentor and those kind of brands that are flashy, they're Instagram lifestyle worthy, and they've got really strong, visually appealing brands. But there's one commonality between both of them, whether the brand's janky like Frank or whether it's beautiful like Millionaire Mind and Millionaire Mindset. What's his name? I can't remember his name right now. He's super cool. Him and his wife, they've got this beautiful life. And is that they both use brand archetypes, whether they're conscious of it or not. They've taken on a specific identity in their brand, and they've stayed consistent in that identity throughout the duration of them being in business. And what that does is it does a few things. One, it builds brand equity, brand trust, because the market knows who you are and how you're going to show up. And then it moves them through the marketing, like you must do, know, like, trust, right? If you consistently show up, like Frank's been a larrikin from the beginning. Everyone knows Frank's a jokester. So even though he's janky in his visual branding, he's been consistent for like 20 years. The same with Millionaire Mind, Boss Babes, they're all consistent, really consistent in their identities. And it builds brand equity. It also allows people to have a promise kept experience. And Seth Godin says, a powerful brand is a promise kept. And that's the McDonald's example, right? So if I'm actually, McDonald's is a bad idea. Starbucks. I don't do McDonald's. I do Starbucks. I love Starbucks.
Yeah.
If I'm in another country and I want a coffee, I'm going to look for Starbucks. Why? Because Starbucks is a promise kept. Their names of their drinks are the same. The drink formula is the same. The packaging is the same. The uniform on the staff is the same. So they've managed to keep a brand identity the same, even though they've rebranded and shifted and changed a little bit. They've used specific archetypes their whole time. So I trust them. They're a promise to me. Nike, if you go into a Nike store in Los Angeles or Australia, the outlay of that store is identical. So they're a promise kept. So when personal brands or company brands, whether they're 7, 8 figures or it doesn't matter. Those who are successful have one thing in common, whether they're conscious or not, they're using archetypal language through what they show and what they say in all of their branding. And they do the same one their whole entire career or slightly tweak it. They never just change it completely. Does that make sense?
Yes, it totally does. I definitely get that. They don't go from, Starbucks one day to selling sushi the next. It's quite
totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Absolutely. Or they don't all of us. So I see this a lot in personal brands, particularly in the spiritual space, and the embodiment coaches, is what they'll do is they go through evolutions personally, which is beautiful, and we should evolve as a human, but then all of a sudden they're rebranding every 3 months because they're evolving. And what that does is it creates deep mistrust in the market. They've got to continually build up trust all of the time, unless they can context it, and some people can. But if you look at people that really have strong brands in that space, like Reagan Hillier, she's pretty much stayed consistent in her branding from start to end. So she's gone through her own personal transformations, but it's almost like she's built an avatar or a separate identity that she kind of puts the hat on when she's in her public persona, and then she gets to take it off when she's at home by herself. And that's what really successful 7-figure brands do. Brands that leave legacies and brands that will own market shares in their individual market in 3 to 5 years to come, if they don't already.
Yeah. I literally love that. And I totally agree with you about Regan as well. And like you're saying that she puts the hat on and then takes the hat off, which you can see. Is there room for people to share more of their personal life? Or is it better off having that kind of separation between who you are when you're at work, like at business, and then who you're not? I don't know if that's the right way to word that.
Yeah, it is. I get it. And I've seen like one person do it extremely well, where they're just like chaos. They change their mind all the time. They never do anything properly. They just do. And their archetype coincidentally is the rebel. So they kind of get away with it. But there's only one person I've ever seen who just is an open book and shares everything, and it doesn't damage their brand. Everyone else, there's like collateral damage for sure. And I think we can share personal things if they're relevant or if they're contexted within the solution we provide to our market. So there's big parts of my life I don't share because it's not relevant to what solution I'm providing. And, I work a lot with the brand Archetypes. And when we go over resources at the end, there's a book I'm going to suggest everybody gets. I read it 20 years ago at university, showing my age. Carl Jung believes, the 12 archetypes, they're in both of us. We have all of them. And 3 of them is how we are in our personal life, 1 to 3. So I play in my personal life, in my intimate life, where I'm at home and people I trust. I play in magician, innocent, and rebel. Now, in my public life, I so happen to do exactly the same 3. Now, other people might be creator, innocent, and every person, and then they might be 3 completely different ones publicly. But what I do when we curate a brand is we go, okay, what of the 12 archetypes does your market need you to activate within yourself so you can be a clear solution to them when they're seeking to employ somebody who has the services that you have? So it's not that we be inauthentic. It's not that we become something we're not. they're all in us anyway. So we just turn up the ones that our market needs to see. And a good brand is built on the market's need to see something, not our opinion. And that's where a lot of people in that 5-6 figure range go wrong. It's like, oh, well, I feel that our market needs to see this. I'm like, it's not about you. Good marketing is what they see and hear, not what you say. So what you say might be one thing, you think you're intending this, but their perception is completely the opposite. So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. I think that's an amazing answer, because a lot of people, like, there's that whole authenticity thing coming up. And so I love that you're acknowledging the fact that we do all have all of those parts of us, and it is just literally dialing up certain parts. It's not saying that the other parts aren't us. It's just dialing up the parts that are going to serve your audience in the best way possible, which ultimately, as a business, that's what you want.
Yeah.
So yeah, I literally love that answer.
Exactly.
I've never had someone word it like that, especially when it comes to the whole authenticity conversation. So yeah, I think that's brilliant. I think that's probably helped a lot of people. So if you did have that particular issue where you have been kind of a little bit all over the shop, and you haven't necessarily, you're a 6-figure business owner and you haven't really honed in, at that point, can you do that little bit of a rebrand, or what do you do?
Yeah, you totally should do it. Absolutely. Like, I help people who are starters right up to 6 and 7. I've helped 7-figure people rebrand, because ultimately sometimes it's the catalyst that takes them to then build the systems, because we can't build systems within a business framework if the identity of the business is unstable, because it actually will impact the systems, their interest, like all things affect the whole, right? So they're all connected. So the first thing we do is we'll rebrand, and we'll build what we call a brand avatar. And we'll create an avatar based on the 12 archetypes that they need, that their market needs to see. Because the only job of good marketing is to show your market you are the solution to their problems. That's it. It doesn't need to actually do anything else. That's the only thing it needs to do. So we figure out what archetypes does their market desire to see, for them to see them as a solution. So some of the common problems I have is people in the spirituality space, or transformation space, is they're leading with the caregiver or the innocent archetype, and they're very soft, gentle archetypes. And I love the innocent. I played in it for many years. But what happens is they end up getting all these toxic kind of client relationships where they're positioned as the rescuer, and then they become the perpetrator, because they're not leading with specific archetypes that are strong enough to hold the container for the work that they're doing. So it's kind of crazy. That's the first thing. So if you're stuck for clients, if you're attracting the wrong clients, if you're not getting your message across clearly. So for example, if you're a 7-figure coach and people are messaging you who are earning less than you, asking you if you need a business coach, you're definitely not portraying where you're at actively. So if your actual value and your perceived value is off, sometimes people think they need to do ads. Sometimes they think they need new funnels. Sometimes they think they need to do webinars, events. Actually, you just need to rebrand and get really clear on what your archetypes are, and then build yourself an avatar, and it stays steady. And then what happens is you become magnetic, and people come because you're clearly communicating who you are, what you solve. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's amazing, because that's even taking out of the whole, I just need to pour more money into this. That's just saying, no, if you get clear, you're actually just going to attract what you need in. It's not to say that you can't pour more money into it, but it's going to be more effective if you do.
100% agreed. And they all do it, whether they're conscious or not. I don't know if Reagan's consciously sat down and done the archetypes, but she stayed consistent. Like, I study this for fun. This is my fun. She stayed consistent for a long time. Frank, I'm pretty sure he didn't sit down and do this from the beginning, but he stayed consistent the whole time. And what happens is that they are so clear on what they embody. They're so clear on their message, on their brand, on their philosophies, on their mission, on their why as a brand, that people can't help but be intoxicated by them. And that's how we say brands become magnetic. They're intoxicating, they become magnetic. And that's what we want, right? It's not, more money is not often the solution.
Yeah, exactly. And same thing as what you're saying as well, is if you're not clear on that, you might be making the money, but you're attracting the wrong clients, or, it's not necessarily going to mean that you're feeling aligned as well if you don't have those pieces
Yeah.
in place. And that's really, having the systems is great. But yeah, again, if you don't have that alignment with who you're attracting in, again, something's just going to be off that
Yes.
little bit. So would you say that most people who are over that seven-figure bracket, they definitely 100% have systems in place, and they're definitely pretty spot on with their archetypes and their branding?
Some of them, actually, I would say they're all connected to the archetypes, whether it's conscious or not. Absolutely. They're connected by archetypes, yes, but I think a lot of them aren't conscious of what they're actually doing, but it works. So I know people who are in the breathwork space and like the money abundance space, and they're heavily in the archetypes, and they're very magnetic, and they're doing very well, but I'm not sure if they're conscious of what they're doing. Yeah, I would say it all boils down to their ability to communicate the archetypal language through what they show and what they say. Yes, absolutely.
That's amazing. And then, yeah, like, so say someone does want to go on that sort of journey. Like, I know you said yourself, implementing the systems didn't take that long to even get that brand and all of that sort of stuff sorted. Is that a hard, drawn out process, or can that be something that's quite easy to get the ball rolling on as well?
I think if you are okay with prioritizing momentum over perfection, it can be quite easy. But if you want to prioritize perfection over momentum, it can be extremely challenging, and you'll be in the branding stage for 12 months. It's just about having the tools. Like, I don't necessarily think anything is specifically difficult if we have the tools. And how do we know if the tools exist? Well, if someone else has done it, the tools exist. And I remember this story because I love Dr. Joe Dispenza. And I always do any like kind of weird, I'm a nerd, I do any kind of weird courses he brings out. And he brought like another course out called I can't remember what it was called. The Formula. It was really well branded, actually. And he told this story about the 4-minute mile. So for many, many years, runners were trying to get the 4-minute mile, and nobody could get it. And the minute one person got it, within 2 weeks, like 9 people broke that 4-minute mile, because all it took was one person to go first, and then it made it possible for others to go. So if somebody's gone first, if you're sitting at home now, you're like, I really know that I want to upgrade my business, I want to scale up, I want to hit 7 figures, just find someone who's done it. If you can work with them, great. Maybe buy them a coffee. I don't know what you need to do. Go and study what they're doing, nerd out on it, and figure it out. Then you will be able to do it too. And I'm not saying copy people at all. You want to bring your own essence into it. But if they've done it, you can. It's the evidence. They're your 4-minute mile, basically.
Definitely. I totally agree with that. And do you think for someone who, like, say you can't actually be around that person, say that you're completely priced out of their one-on-one time, do you think that you can still make a massive transformation in your business just from doing their courses and following their content and just sitting down and spending that little bit more time nutting it out? Because I know obviously when you do a one-on-one, it's going to speed your results up. But do you think
Yeah.
that you can just sit down and nut it all out and get it all, like, make enough, like, and make a change basically just from doing the courses?
Yeah, you totally can. And there's one tip that I give clients when I first start working with them, and I'll share it with everybody because it starts them off. Open a Google Doc or whatever, Microsoft Word, whatever you use. Go and find the top 5 people in your industry that you admire, or who have the same market as you, not necessarily in your industry. So it could be maybe Tony Robbins, Gabby Bernstein, Teal Swan, Dr. Joe Dispenza. They're people you admire. Go and look at their website, go and look at their Instagram, their Facebook. And then I want you to look at the images they use and the colors they use, what they're showing you. So there's 2 categories. First, look at the showing, then copy anything and paste anything that you like onto your Google Doc, onto your Microsoft Word. Then go and look at what they're saying. So that's the second category, what they say, the language component. Is there a commonality in the type of language they use? Is there a commonality in the sentence structure, in the kind of voice that their brand has? And then do the same. Copy anything that you like and then put it on your Google Doc. And then what you've already got is you've done a little bit of market research to see, because they've spent a lot of money doing it. Like, so if you want to know what your market is actually buying, go and look at who is selling to them very successfully. Put it on the document. You've got two categories, what they say and what they show, and look for commonalities. And then ask yourself, well, what do I like in this? What represents who I am? What archetypes I'm using? Can I see what archetypes they're using? I think they're using the magician. Okay, I can see because they're using the word expansion and quantum. Cool. So maybe I'm the magician. Okay, then get onto Pinterest, look up magician archetype. You'll see heaps of colors and ideas and words, and then just start to piece it together that way. That's literally all you need to do if you don't have the resources or anything like that to start. Just start there.
Yeah, I love that. I definitely love that. Thank you so much for that very valuable tip. Yeah, so it is just about having a bit of a play and seeing what other people are doing. And, like you wouldn't do the 4-minute mile without actually knowing it existed. So going out there and seeing what the other people are doing gives you that, oh, I know this exists. And then you can look at it and kind of go, okay, well, this is what, I like about this. Now, how can I do similar, but my own way, and have that point of difference?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I literally love that. And I love that you're even like just using something like Google Docs, because I think as well, a lot of people are like, you don't get to like the big levels unless you're using like the big software, but who doesn't love Google Docs and Loom?
Yeah, I used to sell $100,000 packages off the Google Doc. Like, you can use Google Doc, $50,000, $100,000, all on a Google Doc.
Yeah.
My mentor, who I paid $600,000 to work with for a year, still uses Google Docs to sell his programs. You're fine. Google Docs is good.
Yes, I love that. I love that. We don't need to overcomplicate when we're trying to build the brand and build the systems. It doesn't need to be complicated, which is great. And Google, you can share everything in there. So, I think that really helps people just to get an understanding of, that they can spend the money on the more important things of the learning and the training and the strategies, as opposed to going and spending thousands of dollars on software and things like that, and put the money where it's actually worth it, which is obviously your own personal growth in your business and also on the marketing and things like that. So yeah, I really love all that. Definitely 100%.
Thank you. And then can I add one thing to help everybody?
Yeah.
So once you've done that and you've taken what your brand's going to be, so the words they're going to use, the voice they're going to use, the type of images, then when you hire a team, you can give it to the team. So then the team can also get a feel for the voice of the brand, the type of words, the type of colors, the type of visuals. So then everyone's on the same page, and it becomes like a Bible for the business.
Yep. I literally love all that, because my next question was going to be about teams. And I think that this flows in quite nicely when you are growing that team, how quickly do you start to outsource that stuff? Like if you need to, you've got your Bible there, basically, you've been documenting everything you do with Loom videos and Google Docs. If you use that, personally, I use a lot of Loom. But yeah, how soon would you recommend that someone starts to take themselves out of roles?
Well, it depends on how proficient the team member is, like how trained they are. And I would never necessarily take yourself out of cash creation roles first. So you want to outsource things that don't generate revenue first. If you're hiring a team, so hire someone to answer your emails, hire somebody to maybe do the graphic design, hire somebody to clean your house. I know it sounds incidental, but it's actually not. Hire a bookkeeper, like things that aren't actually moving your business forward through generating revenue, because we all know that revenue generation is what allows us to have momentum. So first, outsource those tasks. Once you've got that solid, then you move yourself into the role. And this might be, maybe you might need to train somebody for a month. It could be 3 months. It depends on the level of expertise the people are you're hiring. Once you've got all of the non-cash creation tasks outsourced and the team are functioning and running on those, then kind of put yourself into the CEO strategist role, which is the kind of role I play in my business, where you come up with the strategies for the lead generation. And then with your team, they start to build out any systems if they're new, because some of my ideas are new, and then they implement, and then you monitor it with them every single day, and you make sure that they're on track, they're on point, they're clear, they're achieving ROIs. So once you do that, each role has to have a return on investment. So every hire has to have a return on investment. Those people you hired to take off the cash take anything off you that's not cash creation, they bought you back your time. So that was the ROI of them, which then meant you could then focus on moving the business forward. So then make sure whoever you hire to support you in the implementation of the other strategies and the building of the systems, they all have clear KPIs and expectations on, if you spend $500 on them a month, that they're bringing back X amount, or they're giving you your time back, one or the other.
Yeah. I literally love that. Thank you. And I think I love the way you said, outsource the things that aren't actually cash creation. So like you said, cleaning, cooking food, if you don't like doing it, the stuff that you don't necessarily, that doesn't cause you revenue or give you the time. I love that. Like, I just think that's a really great way to look at what needs to get outsourced first. So thank you so much.
Yes.
Now, if someone did want to go down on this journey of just creating a 7-figure income and learning how to brand and market themselves, what are 3 tips you'd give them to get them started?
Yeah. So find the top 5 people in your industry that people are paying high ticket for, like 2-3 times the industry average. So Tony Robbins, if you're in the transformation space, is selling his like business academy thing for $10,000 off a bloody event. Like, that's pretty extraordinary. So find those 5 people, look at what's consistent between what they show and what they say, and look at how that's relevant and how you can implement it in your brand. That's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is build an exit strategy with a timeline, because without a timeline, it's just an idea, where you can actually remove yourself out of the business, whether that's a 5-year plan, 5 years is good, or 10 years, and then work backwards. So in 5 years, you want to be maybe just doing 1 team meeting a month, but the team's generating, $2-3 million a year and the company's running. Then move yourself back to milestones. So what would you need to do at 4 years, at 3 years, at 2.5 years, at 2 years, and then all the way back to this present moment. And then each week you have specific tasks you've got to tick off to move you towards there. With the law of momentum, generally you'll get there in half the time. There's a book called Traction, if anyone's curious, that goes into actually how to do this. And if anyone wants to build an actual proper structured company within the coaching space, you definitely want that book. It's a very good book. It's from Silicon Valley. It's called Traction. Get it. And the third tip is literally, this is a weird tip, but just be okay to be imperfect and make mistakes. You won't get it perfect. It's impossible to get anything perfect. Just Gay Hendricks says fail forward in that book, The Big Leap. I love that book. It's such a good book. Just fail forward. You won't be perfect. You won't have it all together. Some days you'll feel like you look like a homeless person, other days you'll feel like you look amazing. Some days you feel like the day's gone like that. Other days it feels like it's lasting forever. It's okay. It's entrepreneur life is chaotic. Be okay with that, but just keep moving forward in the chaos. And eventually you will find harmony and peace.
Yeah. I literally love all of that advice. I've literally loved the whole conversation. I just think there is so much value here for everyone, no matter where you are in business, but specifically giving you things to look at if you do want to take your business to that next level. And even the books and resources that you're talking about as we go along, there's so much value in just that. Go and buy a book and read it over the weekend, or however long it takes you to read a book. Like, just go and do these things. Like, there's so much in this. Do you have a specific recommended resource you think people would benefit from?
I do. I want to grab it so I can show everybody. This is my favorite. I love this book so much. So this is where I came up with my brand avatar formula, is like this book here. So it's called The Hero and the Outlaw, Building Extraordinary Brands Through the Power of Archetypes. It's an old book. It's 20 years old. And It is extraordinary. You can get it on Booktopia or Amazon, like any of those online places. It will change your game in business. You probably could get it on Audible as well. This would be literally the starting point for anybody that's curious about how to implement that in their business, is start with that book. Then from there, you'll know what to do next.
Amazing. And as we were saying before, it doesn't have to be a straight up, you read the book and change everything. You can just make little changes as you go. You're never going to be perfect from day one or ever. You're always going to be perfectly imperfect wherever you're at any particular time. So
yes,
thank you.
Exactly.
Yeah, thank you so much for that recommendation. And that book looks so loved.
I know. It's got like sticky notes and oh my gosh.
I love that though. It's the best books. You're better off reading one book and actually taking it in than reading 30 books on the same subject and completely missing all of them.
Agreed. That was my uni degree. I don't even remember what I did. Except that book. That's it.
Oh, I love that was recommended at uni. That's amazing.
Yes, it was.
So this has been amazing. Where can people find you? Because I know people will want to.
Yeah, thank you. I've had, just side note, I've had so much fun. You're amazing. Thank you so much. If people want to find me, the best place to contact me is Boss Business Institute on Instagram, and my personal Facebook page, which is Kate Gray. So just come and find me, add me, shoot me a message, tell me that you listen to the podcast. On my banner, I always have latest things that I'm up to. I give away a lot of stuff for free. Like, yeah, just come and connect with me. Like, don't be a stranger. The world is moving online. Let's just make that our new reality, because it seems to be how it's headed.
Yes. Amazing. And we can build communities on there. We can connect with people, and life is connection. Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
And I would love if you could just share a little bit about your podcast, because I know that's an up and coming new project you're working on. Who's that for and what's it about?
I'm really excited. It's called the Kate Gray Show, Controversial Conversations Your Grandmother Told You Never to Have. And it's on all things futuristic. So it's a futuristic podcast. It's about what's the future for humanity, what's the future for technology, what are the greatest threats, what are the greatest advantages. Some of my first guests are leaders in the blockchain and cryptocurrency spaces. Then I have leaders in the DeFi space, and I have leaders in the privacy space. So people who are teaching us to really fully become sovereign in our ability to operate as a human and as a business. So it's all about futurism. It's all about how can we discover within ourselves a better way to exist so we can evolve from the state that's happening now as an individual and as a business.
I love that. And what I love about it is the fact that I hope that a lot of people do understand that what we create, it comes from within. So listening to your podcast, it's going to give people it's going to show them the 4-minute mile before it happens, so that you can actually get that understanding of where things are going, so that you can bring that in and create it from within before you necessarily do see it externally. So I think that podcast sounds amazing. So that'll be out before the end of the year.
Thank you. Yes, 6 weeks from now. So around about the beginning of December, to be safe. Say beginning of December.
Amazing. So everyone's got their Christmas listening now. I love that.
Yes, it'll be so good.
I'm excited. I'm like super pumped about that. I love being up to date on all the future stuff. So it's going to be really, I'm excited about it. So thank you so much for your time, Kate. It's been so lovely to be here. It's been so lovely to interview you and show people you so that they can get around you, because obviously you're someone that people should be listening to, following, and just learning from. You have so much wisdom. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. And thank you for all that you do in the world and bringing this podcast and bringing us all together so we can help each other to all lead purpose, soul-led businesses, because that's kind of what it's about as an entrepreneur. So thank you.